What is the diasporan experience like?
It was a shock.
Identity is at the core of us. We cannot talk about parenting without understanding the backdrop that underpin that parenting.
We're getting more educated and losing our own essence.
If we cannot be proud of who we are, that leads to some form of dislocation with our own selves. Hello. Welcome to another episode of our exciting podcast where we explore the experiences of parenting in the in-between. Mothers, fathers who cross the divide into other cultures to bring up children in an environment that is new and very different from the homelands they come from. Today, we are going to be exploring some of the themes that we've earlier on discussed in this podcast from the point of view of two mothers who have been part of this diasporan experience. There's a lot for us to talk about. But first, before I go into any of what we have to discuss today, let me invite our guests today to introduce themselves and to tell us a little bit more about their experience here in diaspora. So first of all, hello, Laide, Pastor Laide, and hello, Aisha, you're welcome to this episode of Diasporan Experiences. Can I please first ask you to introduce yourself and how you came to be in the diaspora?
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here this evening. It's so excited to be here and talk about these issues. My name is Laide Ajayi. I'm a pastor. I pastor with my husband. We've pastored for about 15 years now. We have 3 children. I love children's ministry. I started off in children's ministry. I've been in children's ministry for about forever, ever since I started ministering in church, and it has made me develop a passion for children. And so that is kind of what has made me develop a need, see some of the needs that are out there. And I also am passionate about women too, women finding their voice, coming into their own, and maximizing their gifts and talents as well. I am a geologist by profession. I worked in corporate for about a few years, and then we segued into entrepreneurship, and currently now that's what we're doing now.
Thank you so much. As you can see, we're in for a powerhouse discussion, but that's just one half of the duo. Now let's move on to Aisha to also tell us a little bit about herself.
Thank you very much again for having me. What a pleasure to be here. So my name is Asa Adenusi. I've been in the U.S. for 10 years, actually. I have 3 kids, 2 daughters. One is about to turn 25, and then I have one that's about to turn 21, and then I have my son that's about to turn 18. And so I came in from Nigeria looking for the opportunity to have my kids, experience a better education and just the exposure of coming into the Western world, so to speak, and it has been a journey, ups and downs, learnings and all whatnot. And we're going strong as a family, but definitely we have the scars, that come with being here. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. You're very welcome, Asa. And again, another powerful half of the duo. So we're in for a thrilling time exploring some of the issues that we've always talked about on this podcast. Perhaps if we start by me just asking you in a few words, your background as a mother, but also as a mother in the diaspora. Are there any key points of what you believe to be your experience as a mother in the diaspora, but also what you know motherhood to be about? Because part of what we are exploring is this idea that when you leave your home but you still have that as your homeland and you enter into a different culture. There are differences around the experiences of motherhood and mothering, and what that entails. So I just want to explore with you from your perspective, any just, quick brush strokes for what your experiences are in that regard. So I'll start first with Asa.
Thank you. So I got married pretty young, 24, 25, and so I think we were just in the throngs of love and passion and all of that. And I was actually reflecting a couple of days ago and wondering if we really had a vision for where we were going, with the whole marriage and eventually parenting. Now, being back home in Nigeria, my entire family, mom, dad, brothers, sisters, I think they form a guardrail, because back home when you marry, you don't marry just for yourselves, you marry into a family.
Right.
You have the guardrails of your mother-in-law, father-in-law, and all of that, because you yourself, you're still being brought up, right?
That's true.
And so when the children then come, there's that community that is all there. And as a matter of fact, my husband, he have longevity in their side. So we had great grandmothers and great grand aunties, and you had to interact with them. You had to, so first of all, I come from a different culture, so I had to even learn how to cook, and dress up and behave like a Yoruba woman. So I was being schooled. And so it was easy when my kids were young that I was still being schooled culturally what it is to be a mother. So and this is me thinking retrospectively now, but then, the opportunity came to bring the kids over here and say, look, I went to school in the UK. Let me give my kids the opportunity to go to school abroad. And again, did I have a vision? I prayed and everything. God, it was miraculous how we got here. But then we got here and I just thought things would fall into place.
Yeah.
I think, thinking about it, I was so ignorant.
I mean, before perhaps we go into the diasporan experience, I mean, there are just some really key themes that you brought out that I find really interesting. You talked about community, what I call the village,
Right.
that there are societies in which you have the ones we come from, and most people who are in the diaspora who emigrate from the south to the north come from. They're very communal in approach. And it was very interesting to hear your experience of that community from from when you were married, from being looked after, from being part of a village that you could draw upon strength, nurturing, but also support
That's
and
right,
learning
yeah.
experiences.
That's
So that's
right.
really, really great to hear. I'll now move to Pastor Laide and ask, what about you? What's your background before you came into the United States?
To the
What was your
United States.
experience? Do you have similar experiences or yours different?
Well, I would want to say that I have, just like Sister Asa said, in retrospect, I have a very interesting background because I was born in the United States. The first, 5 years of my life was spent in the United States. So, because my parents came here in the 70s as students, so they had that whole student community experience. And I had a very good relationship with my mom. So she would tell me stories of when they were students here, about the challenges they faced, the different nuances and how they had a sense of community. And, looking back on it now, I've been blessed by that because by default, I have a lot of mothers that came out from that community that they still
Who
mother
still
me
here.
to. Yeah. And even
Excellent.
till now, they still mother me to today. A few of them came back, because we moved back to Nigeria when I was like 5. It's just myself and my younger brother. So he was 1 year old. I was almost 6. And when we moved back and we moved to the north, and my parents were always they were always very, they had a lot of friends. They had a large circle of friends. So, like I said, I had, by retrospect, the sense of community. We had a lot of families that were close together, so we were mothered by a lot of them. And it was good, because even till now, a lot of those families were very close. There was one particular family that, for growing up, we always thought we were cousins. And then when we got to a sense of awareness, I was like, wait a minute, you're from Ogun State, I'm from Oyo State, how are we cousins? But that's how close we were. So it was always, it was a very good experience, and I love the sense of community, and I think that's the advantage that we have back home. You know, you grew up with families, you grew up with extended family, and you get parented by a lot of people, and there's shared values, there's shared experiences that you all go through. So it was very, with retrospect, I think I'm very grateful for that, because it's like I had the best of both worlds. And so I came back when I was when I completed my first degree, second degree, and then I decided to come back. And the main reason why I decided to come back was predominantly from my mom, because she had retired. She didn't have a lot of opportunities, and since she had already schooled here, she already had a first degree here. I was like, okay, I can pave a way for her to come back, because I was a citizen and I'll come back. So that's why I came back. And so when I came back,
we will pause.
Okay. So that's it.
Ladies, really, really exciting stuff. Because again, I think some of the key themes that I pick from that is, one, you were prepared.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'm hoping that this podcast can do, and the resources that we'll develop, is that idea that if people come in better prepared for the diasporan experience, it may not be as jarring, and that it may not be as challenging as somebody who, as in Asa's case, had a lot of expectations and hope without really properly appreciating some of those internal conflicts that may arise. But the other thing I think that you picked up on that was really interesting is this idea about family.
Yeah.
About this, that your mother isn't just your biological mother.
Yeah.
That community that brings you up is your mother.
Yeah.
And that leads to the relationships as well, where you are cousins with somebody with whom you have no biological relationship.
Yeah.
And what you said there reminded me of my son. So I have a really good friend in the UK. We met there, and our sons were both 8 when we met. And we became really close, and we became family.
Right. Yeah.
And so my son and my friend's son would call themselves cousins.
Yeah, because it's the easier way to explain the relationship.
And I think when they got to the high school, I think when it was about maybe 12, 13, I think the kids tweaked a little bit. You're Nigerian, you're Kenyan, because my friend was Kenyan. How are we cousins? And I think we said it's a little bit complicated.
Right.
And left it to that because they weren't prepared to explain it. But in a real sense, that sense of what family means from an African perspective, it's not just about blood. It's about this idea that everyone who is part of that village is together, and we are bringing these children up together. And that makes a whole lot of difference when we come to the diaspora. It's just really hitting some of the key themes that we've been talking about around community, around family, around that sense of having a village around you that's so different from the diasporan experience. So I think let's explore that a bit more then. How has that experience that you knew from back home to come in here, when you arrived the shores of the United States, new immigrants, diasporans now, how did that feel for you? So when you arrived, did you already have a family, or?
Yes. I was blessed enough that my uncle, he was here with my parents in the 70s. He actually joined my parents in the 70s, and he never went back. So he lived in Austin. So I had kind of like a soft landing. I was able to stay with him for about 2 years. But it was still a cultural shock too, because even though I was prepared in some way, because my mom, being that they were here, We talked a lot. She talked a lot about their experiences. And even, honestly, I really didn't want to come back because they had told me so much about the way it is, that it wasn't a bed of roses, what they had to go through. So I knew already that it's not a walk in the park coming to the United States. So, but it was, like I said, it was basically for her. I was like, okay, I'm just going to come, settle her in, and then I'll go back. Because I wanted to get into the oil industry. I wanted
caught
to,
in the trap.
Exactly. Exactly. So when I came, it was still, I look back now and I see that even though I thought I was a little bit prepared, there was still so many things I was unaware of. There were still so many things that were new. There were still so many things that I did not understand. There was still that cultural, that getting acclimatized to the culture, the cultural nuances, the cultural, different things. Yeah. So it was still a little bit bumpy, but I had a softer landing because I had my uncle, his family, and then even like for example, even his family integrating with the kids because the way you are. I was older than them. The respect is it's something that we do over there, but they could call me by name, even though I was like years older than them and things like that. So it got some getting used to, and even them getting used to me too, and me understanding that, oh, okay, these are things I should do and these are things I shouldn't do. Like a typical example was that I would shower every day, and that would aggravate them. They were like, why am I bathing every day? And I was like, what is the big deal? But they didn't shower every day.
And you see, I think that is the question, the real core of this, that some of these things around identity, culture, the diaspora is about the little things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's not the very big things, or things that you are unaware of when you start, in that space.
Yeah.
The shower thing. I'll keep that one at the back. Maybe we'll come back to it. I'll just go to Asa now. So you came with your family.
Correct.
How old were the kids when you arrived?
So the youngest was 8, and so that would be 8, 11, and 14. So one was in going to be getting into high school, and then the two youngest ones were in elementary school. So our motivation, of course, was to come and find the best ISD. So we chose the KD ISD. We had a home. I knew nobody. Wow. Literally came in here and went to Walmart and rented a car and just filled it up with food and air beds. And we said, that's it. We're home, guys.
Wow.
And let's get ready to go to school.
The journey started.
The journey started. Wow. This is it.
Yeah. And I expect that in that journey, even how you go about starting to find the children's schools, and what each of the different names mean, because even till today, for me, I live in the UK, so middle school, junior high. It's so different in every culture, and arriving with 3 kids at different ages and having to try and get your head around that.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot. How did you...
And having no help.
Yeah.
So I had started to do the research back home, but what helped was we had the home, and we were just lucky that it was zoned to the best high school, the best middle school, and the best elementary school. So that just literally fell into our laps. But then we still had to navigate health insurance and all of that. And having really no one to say, this is how to do it. This is, very traumatizing.
Yeah,
because as a parent, you're trying to learn and understand, and you can't even show that face to your kids.
Yep.
They think you've got it all together.
Right on the ball.
Yeah.
You're the parent, so your kids are thinking, you brought us here.
Yes.
So you should know what we should be doing. So tell us, what's the game here?
Yeah.
And you kind of have to whereas you're furiously paddling on the net.
Yeah,
Furiously paddling. I remember, first back to school shopping that we did, we went to the mall, and I told the kids, I'll be right back. They left all the shopping, and I don't know what they were looking at. When I came, I was like, "Where's all the shopping?" It was all stolen.
Oh my goodness.
It was all gone.
Wow.
And you can imagine, you just exchange rate, whatever it was at that time, and you just did all the shopping,
Wow.
clothes and all of that.
Wow.
And it was all gone. I was like, oops, sorry guys. It's going to be 2 pairs of jeans and 3 T-shirts, and then we're just going to wash.
Right.
You know, so it was a rough start. Yeah, it was a rough start. The kids were excited about starting school. Until some reality started to dawn.
I hope you're taking a lot of notes about some of the really, challenging environment when you arrive. And you arrived, I know that you've got a postgraduate degree from
correct.
Imperial.
Yes.
So you're smart.
Yes. So
You
I
traveled,
thought.
So this is not some green, person from the backwaters arriving in the U.S.
Right.
And yet you struggled with your Imperial degree.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did. It was, I had to relearn, reteach, and relearn everything.
Yeah.
Relearn. That's a really important word, relearning. And in that relearning, how much of that was about relearning about you? Your identity, you as a person.
Right.
How did you navigate that part of the you in Nigeria and the you in the US? Did you have any challenges? What are some key, maybe stories you can tell about that journey of your identity as a person, as Laide, as Asa, as a mother, as a wife? Did you find that there was a lot of relearning to do there, or was that a little bit smoother?
Yeah. For me, yes, there was a lot of relearning because, I came as a single lady, and then 1 year after I went back home, got married, and I came back, and then I had my daughter. So it was really a transition time, and it was a time of discovery as well. Yeah, kind of discovering, coming into my own, as a new mother. But thankfully, I did have support. But looking back, there were a lot of things that I just didn't know too. I didn't know. I just realized I didn't know, because sometimes I think back on my oldest daughter, because sorry, I didn't mention that earlier. I have a 23-year-old, I have a 21-year-old who is special needs, and then I have a 14-year-old boy. So 2 girls and then a boy. So, but with my first daughter, because when I went back home for my wedding, my husband had to wait. I had to file for him before he came. So I had her before he came. So we were together for he didn't see her until she was about 1 year, 6 months or so.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and even that isn't easy.
Yes, exactly.
And that's an aspect of this journey where you're finding that for a lot of parents in the diaspora, people in the diaspora, you're having this long periods of
separation,
where one parent is almost like a single parent, and you. And the implications of that for, what you do in your relationships, parenting and all of that.
Yeah, thankfully, like I mentioned before, I had filed for my mom before. So thankfully she came 2 weeks before I had my daughter. So it was such a blessing to have her and, have her cushion that period. But it was still, even for her, even coming back to, she also was relearning. Even though she had been here in the 70s, she was relearning a lot of things. Things were different now with computers and technology and stuff. So it was really a time of transformation and just gradually understanding, because what I was trying to say earlier was that I look back on my daughter's experience, like her early years, and sometimes I'm just like, it was like I was just like in a daze. I don't remember. Because you were busy working. You were trying to make ends meet, and you're trying to raise a kid, and then it was just a hustle. So looking back, I'm like, so many things in her like elementary, I'm like, I was like not in touch. Like now with my son, I'm more intentional because I'm like, I missed a lot with, I missed a lot with her because it was like, I just didn't know. Like, I remember a conversation we had when she was like in high school. I was like, why aren't you in the GT program, which is like the Gifted and Talented program? She was like, I don't know. Maybe you didn't sign me up. And then something flashed in my memory. I remember the color of that paper. It was a pink paper. And I looked at it and I read it. I was like, I don't understand what this means. But looking back now, I was like, oh my God, that was what that was for. So
you're a geologist?
Yes, 2 degrees.
Professional,
Yeah.
highly educated.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're finding problems navigating.
Yeah.
So, navigating this diasporan space as an educated woman who already has support, who understands the challenges, and yet fundamental, basic knowledge, information, which we talk about, coded knowledge. Any normal parent, and I put normal in quote, normal being homegrown, would understand the school system because they've been through it.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you've not been through that school system, like Asa said earlier on, you're going to have to learn it.
Yeah.
So you are studying it together with your children and you miss things.
Yeah.
And that has implications. It has implications for your child, for conversations you'll have later. So it really is interesting. As I said, you are hitting some of the real key themes of this discussion. So I will now come to you, Asa. 3 kids. Things stolen on the, everything gone.
Oh my goodness.
14, 9, and what was the other age? 8.
Sorry, 14, 11, and 8.
11 and 8.
Yeah.
So, as a mother, how different was it for you parenting them in Nigeria and parenting them here? And I'd like to maybe for you to just explore issues around who they are, who you are, that the dynamics in the family change, that the relationships change, did how they saw themselves, saw you, and anything along those lines.
So I was in the situation where my husband stayed back and I came here with the kids. So
that separation.
That was that separation. So I had lost a little bit of myself in not having my husband around. And at that time, I didn't also realize that the kids had lost a big part of themselves in not having their dad around. Because I was so intentional about, guys, you're coming here and getting an education. And that's it, So I was more focused on getting them ready for school, get your hair done, dress them up nice. We don't send our kids to school looking anyhow.
You have to be sharp.
The school. In fact, I used to buy notebooks, and then the teachers would take the notebooks because you just put everything in a big pile, and then other kids will take those fine notebooks.
I know.
And then now come home and let's do that homework and So I was just focused on getting that going. But then my kids now started getting into sports. And I think that was one of the outlets that they wanted to use. They had to deal with people rubbing their skin. It's it's almost animalistic, that they had to deal with those type of things. Like, does your collar rub off, and I mean, we're in
the United States.
My kids grew up watching Hannah Montana. Come on, It's like they grew up watching the same Disney, that and my son told me not too many years ago that even the teachers will bully them. Wow. Is this how you eat in Africa? I'm like, how? Yeah. Why would you do that to this kid, So we don't even know that I don't think we know half of what the kids went through. But I know that eventually my son, he just kept getting in trouble. And I was like, you can't
did you have that situation back home? Or was it something that came as a result of relocating?
My kids back home,
if that's not too intrusive,
went to the American International School,
right,
in Nigeria.
Okay. So, ordinarily, they should be able to settle.
I thought it would be an easy transition. So I want that money sent them there thinking it'd be an easy transition, you know. But then eventually he even got kicked out of the school bus.
Wow.
I was like, and I still didn't understand that he was being bullied.
Yeah.
You know, and for a boy, I just thought he was playful or whatever. And, you know, and then one day when I realized it, I was like, yikes. You know, it was kind of a little bit too late. He has found his way. You know, the kids started to find their way.
Yeah.
You know, my daughter found their way. They actually became state wrestling champions because they didn't want anybody to mess with them.
So, entering this new, I don't know, environment, arena, completely disrupted their sense of self.
Yeah.
You know, and so they had to reimagine
Yes.
who they were in this new environment, you know, and almost recreate for themselves a sense of self, a sense of identity, and how to be safe
Yes.
Yeah.
in that space.
Yes. My daughter became the first girl to play football in junior high and high school in KDISD.
Wow. That's awesome.
Nobody
Kudos to her.
will mess with her. And then
know.
she became a state wrestling champion.
Wow.
Excellent.
So you can imagine what was going on in the background for her to
Yeah.
wanna
To
do
push
that.
herself that way.
You know, and I think one of the things you said there that I think really resonates with me is that you did not even know what was happening with the children.
Yeah.
And part of that is because of what we said earlier, isn't it? You are also learning. So rather than be that safe space where the children could come to you and say, Mom, and then you provide an answer, because kids are smarter than we think.
Yeah.
And I think they probably knew Mom doesn't have the answer. We're all navigating this space. And so kids do this thing where they try and protect you.
Yeah.
And so they're finding their way, and you don't know. And because you don't know, you can't even ask. Because if you don't know, you can't even ask the right questions.
Yep.
You know, so
Yeah.
that's really interesting to hear.
Yeah.